G'day legends, I hope that you're having a fantastic day. Now I was in a better spot. That rumbling you're hearing is actually fighter jets now over the top of me. Now I was in a better spot where you could actually see Lebanon, you could see Israel in the foreground, the city of Kiryat Shmona. But just as I was getting actually set up, you can see me take the camera off the tripod because a drone had passed right in front of me. Now my ability to actually identify a drone in the fly is not good enough to say, yep, that is Israeli or that is Hezbollah. So I've chosen to pack up, move, and then chuck on my body armor. Drones, I do not stuff around with them regardless of anything. But we are not too far away. We're only a few kilometers away from where Lebanon begins, of course, Hezbollah-controlled area. And just in this exact area yesterday, 2 people were killed, leaving then 3 children behind. So as safe as things may feel in an area like this, the element of danger is always there and not worth paying off. Now, what I then want to talk about is I've actually spent the day with geopolitical experts talking not only about who Hezbollah is, what threat they then pose, but also the behind the scenes, the asymmetrical part warfare that then Iran has then behind Hezbollah and then other countries feeding into that. Now there's going to be a complete full breakdown of that over basically 2 45-minute interviews and then a 90-minute interview as well, going really deep on that, talking about Russia and China, many other nations, and then these proxies of Iran and how that may look. Now, it depends who you ask. Most people are 50-50 on whether there will be a wider operation by Israel here to cross into Hezbollah-controlled areas of Lebanon to then push back that threat, as we still have multiple drones and missiles coming into this area every single day, and there's been about 60,000 people displaced from here. Now, if you don't know where I'm talking about, we're talking to the north of Israel. Most people are familiar with Hamas. Sorry, I was half zoned out. That's actually a fighter aircraft, but he was heading at me this way. Sounds a little bit like a missile when it's coming directly. If it was coming right to left, I know that's coming from Israeli-controlled areas, but left to right, keeping my wits on me. I'm still a bit spooked from the drone. What we're talking about. Most people are familiar with Hamas and, of course, Gaza, but Hezbollah across here, they are significantly more powerful. Could be 10 times or more powerful in terrain that is far, far more hilly. It's tunneled, it's built in, and far, far more terrain as well. So it's a far bigger front line. This would pose a massive then... Sorry, I've just got a... No, that's a notification for rocket fire, but that's just to then the west of where I am. Sorry, it's all happening. This poses a massive challenge to Israel, and what will it do from here? You've got 60,000 people displaced. You've got many, many missiles coming in. Of course, the interceptors for those are incredibly, incredibly expensive. And then you've got troops sitting on the border that are powerful and they don't know what will happen. Now, Hezbollah was meant to invade on October the 7th when then Hamas did, but they didn't. Now, it's not really known why they didn't, but they knew that there was commandos in place ready for then it to come in, and they have spoken about how this would look, that there would be massive rocket attacks come in and then they move across. Will that happen? Will the invasion be this way? Look, you can't rule anything out, but it's more likely that Israel will then move in to Lebanon. But of course, there is a lot of war fatigue, not only in the military, but also in the civilian populace for now the 9-month war that has been occurring then in the south. Now, how powerful is Hezbollah? What do they have? Well, they have a lot of people. They've got a lot of territory. They've got a lot of tunnels, bunkers, built-in areas into the mountains. This, of course, is very difficult to use any sort of armoured assets, but they also have a lot more assets. And I was told from these experts, anything that Iran has, you can assume that Hezbollah has or will have access to this. And Iran is very good at reverse engineering weapon systems as well. And there's been modern Israeli weapon systems that then they have seen analogues made of these in then hands of Hezbollah. So very, very powerful things like your Cornet, then ATGM, your anti-tank guided munitions. Of course, this is a Russian system firing those then in tandem, taking out tanks, and they have a hell of a long range. It's very hard to intercept them, almost impossible, and you can't even EW them because they tow then a fibre optic line that directly then sends the signals. But you can look at what Iran has, and the reason we have a better idea of what Iran has is look what Russia is then purchasing from Iran and the success that that has then had in somewhere like Ukraine, the drones, the missiles, pieces like this. But also in these interviews, what we then speak about is what's going the other way, and the technology that Russia has that it can feed into Iran, maybe on an exchange for drones or weapons back for technology that we could see then used in this conflict. The IRGC, Iran, they have a much closer relationship with Hezbollah than they do with Hamas. That Hamas is more of a contractor where Hezbollah is a true proxy of Iran. And that the experts are telling me that what happened down in the south with Hamas was probably a leading into then further operation and the overall goal of Iran to not only degrade the West, but also to degrade Israel and or remove Israel in itself. Speaking with these experts, something that came really apparent was how much more influential this would be than what is happening in the south as far as geopolitical allies and who may enter the fight as far as other nations, not only maybe soldiers, but then firing in missiles as well, and would strain and test relationships from the West into the Middle East, and that this could really change the world as we see it, that this war, it could cross an event horizon and grow exponentially. Many will say that we've already crossed that event horizon, that something needs to happen here. You've got 60,000 people displaced, their homes are here, and you've got missiles coming in every day. Is there any other option than launching some level of invasion across? Could there be something politically, diplomatically worked out? Well, that is, I guess, up to you to answer in the future to tell us. But will there be an attack within the next few weeks? Most people are saying no. Israel's very tied up down in the south. And of course, there's a lot of negotiations, diplomatic and political talks going that they don't want to jeopardize any of that currently with another front line opening up here. And from the amount of equipment and stuff I've seen moving around, I don't think that will occur either unless it's already moved into place. It felt imminent only a few weeks ago, but actually, now that I'm here, it feels less. Now, I could be completely incorrect on this, but most people I speak to are saying if it happens, it's going to be down the line, but they're 50-50 on whether it will actually happen or not, just due to the consequences that will have everywhere. And although Israel might win the tactical victory on the ground warfare, the strategic victory and the consequences wider of this throughout the Middle East and the world, well, that will be something to behold that could be absolutely massive, as we have seen the division that the operation into Gaza has caused. Another front line would strain further already tedious relationships internationally. So I'll be here for at least the next few days. I'm staying down in a reasonable hot spot, seeing if anything then kicks off. This is the spot I would like to be. But what I really want to get across is what we saw in the south compared to what we saw in the north would be a significantly harder and more costly war, not only in troops and equipment, but also in terms of political alliances and the further world order we see moving from the unipolar to a multipolar world, and this division that is occurring, happening between the West and then the global south. So we'll keep an eye on exactly what is happening here. I don't think that we'll see this in the next few weeks, but I think personally that it is inevitable that we will see some level of operation crossing have to occur here, and maybe a demilitarized zone come into place. Israel's not going anywhere. Hezbollah, Lebanon are not going anywhere. Neither are the other nations here. We can expect many more years of war, much more blood, many more years of war, much more blood spilled on this land. And as we see, major powers and regional powers use proxies to further push their world order. If there's a lot of cuts in this, I'm sorry, I got a bit thrown off by the bloody drone and the bloody jet, both of which were likely Israeli anyway. But legends, if you'd like to support me, there's links down below. I'm out here cruising around by myself, doing what we can. As I've spoken about, I'm not doing daily updates here. I'm still trying to do all of the Ukraine stuff, but you can see where this and Russia is tied into Iran, and that fits the whole two major wars that we see going at the moment and how that can influence one and the other. So if you'd like to support me, there's links down below, but look after yourselves and I'll speak to you very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.